another in the series of our community conversations, public programs, and guest lectures. I'm Skip Rutherford, Dean of the University of Arkansas Clinton School of Public Service, and we're honored to have you here. Let me say a special welcome to Teresa Marks, the new director of ABEQ, who is here. Teresa, stand up and let's recognize you. We're honored today to have Chief Executive Officer of the nation's largest recycler and the company that is the largest producer of comprehensive waste and environmental services in the country. We also want to welcome Lynn Brown, the Vice President of Communications for Waste Management. She is from Houston, but home is Fort Smith, Arkansas, so we're glad to have you here then. And I also want to welcome my friend Roger Lawrence, the head of the Arkansas operations. Roger, welcome. You know, one of the things about waste management that you've got to give a tremendous amount of credit for was an idea that you may have seen during the tsunami when Jay Leno auctioned off a motorcycle, and Dave and the waste management folks bought it. Leno had everybody who was a guest on his show to sign the motorcycle, and the proceeds going to tsunami relief. And the waste management team bought it and brought the motorcycle and decided that they would get others to sign it. So in the dark of night, they brought it here, and we snuck it around, thanks to Jordan Johnson, snuck it around, and Bill Clinton signed it, as Dave said, on the left side of the motorcycle. And then they took it to Texas, where George H.W. Bush signed it on the right side of the motorcycle. And others signed it, and it toured various locations. And they sold that motorcycle for Katrina relief. And so when all was said and done, from the Leno purchase, through matching funds, through selling the motorcycle for Katrina relief, Waste Management was responsible for over $3 million in disaster relief, and that is public service at its finest. To introduce our guest this morning is an employee of Waste Management, but I think of him more as a longtime friend, the former mayor of Magnolia, the person who does the governmental affairs work for this company, one of the best around, one of the good guys of Little Rock and Arkansas. Would you welcome George Wheatley?
Thank you, Skip. You know, one of the most relieved moments in my life was when the Leno bike that had been in Little Rock I got a phone call. I was in Chicago, and I was told that it's back in Houston. And I went, thank you, thank you, thank you. It was nice to have it here for a week, but that's a large child to babysit for a week. We're pleased today to have with us a man whose job it is literally to think green. As the CEO of Waste Management, David Steiner oversees our company's network of 413 operating companies in 48 different states, the District of Columbia, Canada, and Puerto Rico. But under Mr. Steiner's supervision, Waste Management does a lot more than just pick up and carry away your curbside waste. Our commitment to the environment and sustainable living practices is as clear as the methane we collect and convert into energy. Each year, our company recovers and processes methane gas produced in our landfills and turns it into a vibrant source of energy that could power about 225,000 homes or replace approximately 2 million barrels of oil per year. That's impressive. Waste Management also uses natural gas in place of diesel fuel in many of our trucks and works with environmental groups to set aside lands for wildlife habitats and the creation of wetlands. So who is David Steiner? The the man in charge of this billion-dollar corporation and its 50,000 employees. Mr. Steiner is a graduate of LSU, which we won't hold against him. He also earned his JD with honors from UCLA. He started off his career at the New Orleans-based law firm of Phelps Dunbar and joined Waste Management in November 2000 as Vice President and Deputy General Counsel. Mr. Steiner rose quickly through the ranks and was appointed Senior Vice President, General Counsel, and Corporate Secretary in less than 1 year with Waste Management. A short time later, he was named Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of our company. On March the 8th, 2004, he was named CEO of our company, and during his first year at the helm, Waste Management performed at a very strong clip. Our revenue jumped, as did our operating income and our net income. That growth and strong performance continues today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my true pleasure to welcome to Arkansas for his first time, and to you, my boss, Mr. David Steiner.
Skip started off by saying this is going to be a community conversation, and I'm going to have a few prepared remarks that I'll talk about, but I do want to make it a conversation. Hopefully we can have a conversation once I'm finished. So I'll talk a little bit, save most of the time for your questions, so I can talk about anything you have on your minds. The other thing is, mentioning that I'm in Arkansas for the first time, an LSU guy in Arkansas, for the first time I've ever been in Arkansas. I flew in this morning, saw the beautiful weather, and I said, you know what? I'm going to entrust my kids to Arkansas. I'm sending them to Cap Ozark this summer. So this is my first time here, but I will be back. It's beautiful. And I also wanted to mention George's story about the motorcycle. We did sell it for the Katrina victims. I happened to grow up in New Orleans, so it's very personal to me. But the real reason, I can tell it here for the first and only time that I've ever told it. The real reason we sold that bike was because we took the bike and a lot of people had signed it, Dustin Hoffman, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and a whole slew of celebrities. And it was on the Tonight Show, and it was on various Entertainment Tonight. It was all over the place. And so we brought it around to the places that we have in the company for all throughout the United States. So we brought it to various areas. And I was in one place, and I was standing there, and usually when I go and I meet with employees, they say, can you get a picture with you? And I say, sure, you can get a picture. So I'm standing there, and some employees came up and said, can we get a picture? And I said, sure, you can get a picture. And so I stood there, and they said, would you move out of the way? You're in the way of the motorcycle. And that's when I realized the true star of this company has become this motorcycle. And so I said, I got to get this motorcycle out of the company. No, but it really is a great example of our employees giving back. And you'll notice I've got little yellow sheets of paper. Lynn Brown, who I want to thank for putting this all together, who did a great job of preparing some remarks. And last night, I've got three little boys that are going to be here at camp this summer. And I was at their baseball games, and I thought about, what am I going to do tomorrow? Usually when I get to look at my schedule, it's about one day ahead. So I said, where am I going to be tomorrow? I knew that I was going to be at the Clinton School of Public Service, and I started to think about that. I said, what does that mean? What can I come here and talk about at the Clinton School of Public Service? And I thought, okay, let's break down Clinton School of Public Service. I'm going to come here to meet the future leaders of America. That's a great opportunity for me. It's something that I love to do. I love to be around people with new, fresh ideas. They energize me. They make me realize that my world can be different because they're going to make the world different. So the first thing that I thought last night was what an honor to be here with the students of the Clinton School of Public Service. And I said, when I think Clinton School, what do I think? Well, when I think Bill Clinton, I think of leadership. So maybe I'll talk a little bit about leadership. And then public service. What does public service mean? What does public service mean to me? What does public service mean to Waste Management? So I thought the way I'd like to break it down is to say, what is it about leadership that I've learned? And what is it about public service that I've learned in these 3 years that I've been CEO of the company? But first, I want to talk a little bit about waste management. What are we? Waste management, you can define us by the numbers. George told me some of the numbers. We have over $13.5 billion of revenue every year. We have over 25 million customers in North America and Canada. I guarantee that everybody here has used waste management in some regard. In the last year, you see our green trucks all over the place. We also operate throughout the United States and Canada. We're in 48 of the 50 states of the United States. We're in Puerto Rico, we're in Hawaii, we're throughout Canada. So we are a company with a broad range of numbers. When you look at numbers, whether it's 25,000 trucks or 25 million employees with $13.5 billion in revenue, we have a lot of numbers that define waste management. But I truly think there is only one number that defines waste management, and that is 50,000 employees. When you think about what is waste management, we are 50,000 employees. And what does that mean? Why does that define waste management? Well, when I think about our 50,000 employees, what we are is the fabric of America. We are what makes America what it is. We say, well, gosh, how can people that pick up our garbage, how can people that do our recycling, how can they be the fabric of America? Think about it. Every time something happens in the United States, waste management is there. So when we have a tragedy in Oklahoma City, when we had a tragedy at the World Trade Center, we had a tragedy at the Pentagon, we are there to help clean up what's happened after those tragedies. But when we have celebration, we're also there when there's celebration. So every Super Bowl that's ever been held, we're there to pick up the waste. At the Olympics in Salt Lake City, it was the first Olympics to ever be carbon neutral. That's because we donated the carbon credits to the United States Olympic Committee to make the Olympics in Salt Lake City carbon neutral. That's what we're about at Waste Management. We're about the fabric of America. And I always like to tell a story that, I have a brother, Joe Steiner, my brother's name. I'm from a family of 8. I'm the 7th out of 8. That tells you a lot about how I ended up where I am today. But my brother, Joe, was a firefighter for 25 years. And for the first 20 years of his career, he was Joe Steiner, the firefighter. When he walked down the street, they said, there goes Joe Steiner, the firefighter. And then the last 5 years, he was Joe Steiner hero. Why? Because September 11th. September 11th changed the way that we look at firefighters. September 11th changed the way that we look at police officers. And I thought, there's not going to be an event like September 11th that's going to change the way people view the 50,000 employees at Waste Management. But what can we do to make people realize that the people that work at Waste Management, the people that pick up the waste every day, they're heroes, just like those firefighters, just like those police officers. What they do every day allows us to live the life that we want to live. In my mind, that is the definition of a hero. They get out every day and pick up that 4.5 pounds of waste that we all create every day. And so when I think about our 50,000 employees at Waste Management, why I'm here, why you see us do ads on TV, why you see everyone in our company talking about our employees, is because when we think of our employees, we think that we've got 50,000 heroes. That's what Waste Management is. I also wanted to give you just a brief story about my career, because George put it very eloquently, but now I'm going to tell you the rest of the story. As Paul Harvey would say, I was a practicing lawyer for a number of years, had an opportunity to move to Houston, got a job offer, and decided to look at taking a job offer in Houston. And someone said, come talk to Waste Management. And I said, well, why would I do that? I've got these other great job offers. Why would I go talk to Waste Management? They said, just come on over and talk to them. I went and talked to them, and that's when I started to see the culture at Waste Management, that what I talk about, sort of the fabric of America. It's where I felt comfortable. And I thought, this is where I'm going to go to work. I'm not going to go work for these other great companies. I'm going to go to work for Waste Management. Went to work for Waste Management. These other companies said, you're a fool to go to work for Waste Management when you can come to work for us. Well, as you heard George recount it, in about 3 years, I went from Deputy General Counsel to CEO, a pretty quick rise through a $13.5 billion company. But that's not the punchline. That company that I turned down to come to Waste Management was Enron. So when you look at me, what you not only see as David Steiner, CEO of Waste Management, you see the living, walking embodiment of better lucky than good. I can promise you. If there's one lesson you can take out of that as you start a career, be lucky. So let me get back to the two things that I want to talk about when I think about the Clinton School of Public Service. Leadership. And last night, for the first time since I've been a leader of this company, I jotted down a definition of a leader. A leader is someone that sets an example, that others want to follow. And want's an important word. You know, we're all products of our upbringing and of our culture and of the media. And so, you know, the way I was brought up to think, what is a leader? The way I view a leader was what I saw was when I was a kid. I saw John Wayne, you know, taking a hill, yelling at his troops, "Come on, we're going to take this hill." And that's my view of leadership. You know, at my age, that was the view of leadership. You yelled at people. You made them go do something. They didn't ask. They didn't question. They just took that hill. And that was what defined leadership. And then, I've got 3 little boys, so I don't get much of an opportunity to watch TV. But the other night, I was flipping through TV. And I'm sure everybody in here has seen it. I haven't seen it myself until about 2 weeks ago. The Apprentice, Donald Trump. Now, who's seen that show? Well, let me tell you, if that is leadership, if that's what we're telling people that our culture, that our media portrays as leadership, we're screwed. Believe me, do not watch this show, because what that tells you leadership about, what Donald Trump and the media now tells you what leadership is about, it's about bringing in a group of people, torturing them, make them do a bunch of different tasks, make them do things that makes them uncomfortable, and then when they fail at it, yell at it, and scream at them, and each week fire them until there's only one standing. That's the definition of leadership that we're putting out there. If that's leadership, count me out. And for God's sake, if I have to get my hair to look like that, if I have to do that to be a leader, you can definitely count me out. And so, leadership is not what you see on TV. Leadership is what you do every day. Remember that definition, setting an example that others want to follow. Now, I'm going to do it a couple times today, but whenever I talk about leadership, whenever I talk about the things that I do, I talk about my family, because I happen to think that if you're a good parent, you can be a good leader. And every time I look at something that I do in my business life, I realize that it completely equates with what I do in my personal life. So, let's use that definition. Let's talk about someone that sets an example that others want to follow. Well, I always talk about my 3 little boys. In a week, they'll be 9, 10, and 11. And I can give them rules. I can yell at them. I can say, look, if you're going to pick whatever I want them to do, if you're going to respect people, here are the rules. You got to say yes, sir. You got to say no, sir. You got to say please. You got to say thank you. You know, I can give them a whole bunch of rules to follow. But where do they learn to respect or not respect people? From watching me. I can give them all the rules I want. But if they don't see me respecting people, they're not going to respect people. So I need to be very cognizant of that as a leader and as a parent. I need to be very cognizant that everything I do sets the tone for what they're going to do. So you've got to set the right example. And then you've got to set an example that people want to follow. You know, when you think about leadership, you can't just go in and be John Wayne. Say, take the hill. Command people to take the hill. You know, leaders are built, and they're built by creating a consensus among the people they lead. And I think that's something that we've lost in America. That's something that we've lost, whether it's in politics or in business, which is leadership is not about saying, this is my will, and I'm going to impose my will upon you. It's about saying, what can we do in building a consensus? I would say that if I have a great idea and I impose it upon the company, is that going to be better than if someone has a really good idea that's maybe not even quite as good, but if they came up with it and they implemented it, guess what? It's going to be a lot more effective than if I have a great idea and I impose my will upon a company. So it's all about being a leader that people want to follow, not that they feel compelled to follow. So what comes from that? What are the 2 things that I think that from a leadership perspective you always have to be aware of and be careful of? The first is what I call leadership by rule. And I'm going to go back to my kids. We've all had it. We had it when we were kids, and I'm sure we've all done it as parents. It's leadership by rule. Your kids say, why do I have to do that? And you say, because it's the rule. And guess what? That's a form of but it is not an effective form of leadership. If you tell your folks, you just have to do it because that's the rule, you know what they're going to do. They're going to walk back and they're going to say, well, that's a silly rule. You know, we've got people here in this room from every walk of life, and it applies whether you're in public service or you're in private practice. It applies just the same, which is always take a look and find out about those rules. When I go around the country, and I go all around the country talking to our employees, I'm constantly saying, tell me about the things that we do that don't work. You know, everyone has a tendency to come up to me and say, let me tell you how great things are. That's wonderful. Tell me how things are good, but tell me what we're doing that doesn't work. I want to know. I want to know when our leaders are saying, you're going to do it because this is the rule. Because guess what? Challenge the rule. Try to understand if that rule makes sense. Build the consensus around the rule, and don't use it as a battering ram for leadership, because that's not leadership. Then the second one is leadership by position. And again, it happens whether you're in the private sector or the public sector. Leadership by position. I have this title of CEO, and we've all worked for people that had a title. They had the title of vice president, or they had the title of director, or some title. And so I'll go back to the parenting again. When your kids say, why do I have to be in bed by 9 o'clock? Because I'm the parent. Not a very effective form of parenting. You know, if you sit down and explain to them why this is a good thing, if you can build that consensus with your children, that's when you become a true parent. And that's when you become a true leader, when you understand that you can't lead with your title. Because I'm the CEO, I can tell everyone in our company what to do. That would be a form of leadership, but it would be a very ineffective form of leadership. So you need to make sure that whether you're in the public sector, the private sector, or at home with your kids, you need to make sure that you're leading by example and that you're not leading by position. And so, you know, to summarize that part of leadership, I always like to say that if you're a leader, you don't need a title. And conversely, if you need to lead with your title, you're not a leader. Very simple. 2 very easy rules. Always lead by example, and never try to lead by rules or by your title. So that's sort of my thoughts on the Clinton School leadership side of the equation. Let's talk a little bit about the public service piece, because when I thought about it last night, and I thought the Clinton School of Public Service, a certain visual comes to your mind. You say, public service, what does that mean? You know, all of you folks that are here as students in the school, when you think about public service, you know, I think it's a bit of a misnomer. Because public service implies that public service can only be done through the private sector. And so when I think of public service, I don't think of public service as public service through the public sector. I think of public service as serving the public. And again, you can serve the public in a lot of different ways. You can serve the public by being in private practice. You can serve the public by being in government. You can serve the public by being in an NGO. There's many ways to serve the public. And I want to talk a little bit about how we serve the public at Waste Management. So, Waste Management is an environmental company. We're the largest environmental company in North America. One of the largest in the world. We're the largest recycler in the entire world. So what does it mean to serve the public? Well, as an environmental company, I like to think that we have 50,000 environmentalists in our company. And so, what is an environmentalist? You know, that's a word that's very emotionally charged. That's a word that everybody has their own definition of. And so, what do I think is an environmentalist? Well, when I think of environmentalist, I think there's 2 types of environmentalists. There's what I call the futurist environmentalist. And the futurist environmentalist is something that's absolutely necessary because it makes all of us achieve. So the futurist environmentalist might say, we need hydrocarbon-based cars. We need zero waste. You know, we need more ethanol. You know, there's plenty of things that you say, as a futurist environmentalist, this is where we need to end up. This is where we need to go. And we need to have futurist environmentalists because that's what makes us strive. You know, when you think back in my generation, what was it that created all of the advancements that we had in my generation? It was John Kennedy saying, we're going to the moon in 10 years. And everyone said, well, this guy's crazy. You can't go to the moon. But guess what? They made it to the moon by the end of the 1960s, and it drove a lot of change. So you've got to have that future thinking. You've got to have that futurist environmentalist. And And that's the types of things that waste management, when we talk about future as environmentalists, we're talking about different ways to dispose of waste. We're talking about different ways to take care of the environment. And I want to talk about a few of those. When you look at the futurist environmentalists, in the last 10 years, we've gone from about 10 landfill gas to energy plants in our landfills to having over 35% of our landfills with landfill gas to energy. Something that before people said that when landfills are built and the methane gas builds up, you flare it, you just burn it, and that way you don't have any methane gas in the environment. We said, let's do something a little bit different. Let's take that methane gas and use it as a power source. Let's take that methane gas and let's power plants, let's power schools. We're going to provide the power to the University of New Hampshire in order for the University of New Hampshire to operate all of its facilities from a landfill. When you think about futurist environmentalists for us, we think about recycling. Recycling, how many people remember when recycling began? When recycling began, you had 16 bins, your aluminum can with one, your plastic bottle, and paper. You know what that meant? No one recycled. So what did we do? We took technology and we applied to it what we call single-stream recycling. You can put it all in one bucket. And we'll take it and we'll separate it by using technology. It's a lot of different. It's really, if you ever get a chance to see a recycling plant, it's fascinating to watch how technology can separate all of the cans and bottles and papers. And there's magnets here, and there's flare, there's air blowers here to knock the paper out, and there's screens to take the cardboard. It's really a pretty fascinating process. And that's the way you need to think. How are we going to get people to recycle? Well, let's make it easier for people to recycle. That's a futurist environmentalism. But there's also another side that I call the practical environmentalist, the today's environmentalist. You know what? We don't have hydrocarbon-based cars today. We don't have zero waste today. We're a consumer society. We're not going to create zero waste tomorrow. So, given that, given the constraints that you've got today, how do you take that set of circumstances and say, how do we treat the waste that's generated in the most environmentally safe manner? Look, the reality is that 40 years ago, we generated about 3 pounds of waste per person in the United States. Today, we generate 4.5 pounds. Again, we're a consumer society. We're not going to have industry that can create all of the things that we have in our daily lives without creating some waste. So how do you get rid of that waste? Well, when we talk about being a practical environmentalist, here's something that we did. We said, okay, we're given this particular situation, 4.5 pounds of waste per person every day. What are we going to do? Well, we created a group that we call Upstream. And our Upstream group is a group that can go into a plant or go into a big manufacturing facility, and they can go in and they can advise them how to reduce their wastes, how to recycle more wastes, and then how to create less waste, right? And so they go in and they advise. And so I'll give you just one example where they went into one auto manufacturer, just one. And they showed them ways where they could reduce their waste such that they saved enough water to sustain 1 million people for a full year. They reduced the amount of paper that they used just in that one plant to save 200,000 trees in a year. And they saved about 250,000 gallons of gasoline, the equivalent of 250,000 gallons of gasoline, enough for an American family to drive 8 million miles. One plant. Think if we could do that in every plant in the United States. Think if we could go in and help people to understand how to generate less waste, how to recycle more waste, and then how to get rid of what you need to get rid of at the very end. Think about if we do that with one company. Think what we could do if we did it with all of industry. Landfill gas to energy is one that I talked about before. Well, landfill gas to energy and our waste to energy plants where we burn waste to create electricity, we power over 1 million homes in the United States for a full year using the waste that you create, that 4.5 pounds of waste, to power over 1 million homes every year. We have the NASA Goddard Space Center in Maryland that now is powered using landfill gas. I talked about the University of New Hampshire, but let's talk about one last thing. Because when you think about the practical environmentalist, you have to think about what is the loop that we need to close. And so I'm going to talk about one of those loops that I think happens to be very interesting for us. We have a plant in Canada, and it's a paper mill. And we provide the recycled paper for that paper mill to create recycled paper. Then we took our landfill gas and we put the landfill gas into the plant to power the plant. So now we're feeding the recycled paper into it. we're feeding the landfill gas to provide the power, and then we took that recycled paper, we used that recycled paper to print our annual report. So when we send it out to our shareholders, it's on the recycled paper that comes from that paper plant that we provide landfill gas to create their electricity. That's what I mean about us finding opportunities, about marrying that future environmentalist and that today's environmentalist, marrying those two things together to create a better environment for everybody. The last thing that I want to talk about from that perspective is what I call the ultimate in recycling. I've talked about all the constituent pieces, but now we're going to tie it all back together for you. So, what I view as the ultimate recycling, that 4.5 pounds of trash that is created every day, that 4.5 pounds of trash that we pick up and we treat in the most environmentally friendly manner, we bring it to our landfill. In our landfill, it degrades and creates methane gas. We then take that methane gas and we power homes. We're actually looking at sort of the future environmentalists, we're looking for ways to take that methane gas and create the fuel to power our trucks so that we don't have to burn hydrocarbons. We're looking for ways to create liquid natural gas to burn cleaner fuel in our trucks that we can use the waste, that 4.5 pounds of waste that we're putting out every day to fuel our trucks. And so we're going to take that waste and we're going to use it as a fuel source when we put it into our landfill. And then, when we're finished with the landfill, we're going to cover it with natural grasses and we're going to give it back to the community. It's the ultimate recycling. So we have over 17,000 acres of former landfills that are now natural habitat, natural wildlife habitats. We have landfills throughout the country that are hiking trails, that are golf courses, that are soccer fields, that are baseball parks, that are given back to the community after we've finished using them to create that energy and to dispose of that waste in the most environmentally safe manner we can. It's the ultimate recycling. Taking the land, using it for good beneficial use, and then giving it back to the community. To me, that's what makes us an environmental company. And I wanted to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about, because we have everything represented here. We have the people that are going to be the future leaders of the United States. We have the people that are the waste management employees. We have the people that are in the public sector. We have the people that are in the private sector. We've got everybody represented right here. And when I think of public service, I have to think that I need to do a better job, that we all need to do a better job of listening to each other. It's interesting. When I become CEO of the company and you look at all the various constituents, you have the NGOs, you have the public sector, you have the private sector. When you get to a certain level, I think we all stop listening and we all stop hearing, because we all think that it's a battle between those three sectors. It's always a battle. It shouldn't be a battle. What we need to do is we need to say, okay, we all have the same goal in mind. I've got 3 little boys. I want to leave this planet to them better than it was left to me. We all have the same goal in mind. How do we get into the same room and try to understand what we're all trying to achieve? And that's what I call perspective. Try to understand the other person's perspective. Every time that I get into a situation where I think, they just don't understand me, or they just don't understand our company. You know what that means? That means I haven't taken the time to explain it to them. That means that I haven't taken the time to say, look at it from my perspective. And I'll tell you a little story about perspective, about putting yourself in someone else's shoes. I'm going to go back to my 3 little boys again. And they're now 9, 10, and 11. But 6 years ago, they were 3, 4, and 5, right? And I said earlier that I come from a family of 8. So I have the 3, 4, and 5-year-old, and they all 3 sat in the same row with their little car seats in the back seat of the minivan. And we would drive along, and I'd hear a little chatter in the background. They're all talking, and they're just having a great little time. And before you knew it, one of them started crying. And the next time we got in the car, I'd hear a little chatter, and then before you knew it, one of them started crying. And then the next time we got in the car, I'd hear a little chatter, same one started crying. Now, I'm the 7th of 8 kids. It was very easy for me to jump to a conclusion. I said, well, I know what's going on. The other 2 are beating the crap out of me. I lived that. When you're the 7th of 8 kids and you're in the back seat, you're getting a lot of head whacking. And so I thought, it would be very easy for me to think that that's what's going on and then go in the back and punish the other 2. That would have been a very easy decision for me to make. But you know what I said? I said, before I do that, before I jump to a conclusion about what's going on, trying to get to see what's going on from their perspective. So I told my wife, I said, next time we're in the car, I'm going to let you drive. So she drove. And we have a minivan, and it was 2 rows. So they're in the middle row, I sat in the back row, so they really didn't pay attention to what I was doing. And as I'm sitting in the back row, and we're driving along, you hear them talking, and they started talking, and they started talking. And the 4 and the 5-year-old, you know, when you're 4 and 5 years old and you're driving around in a car, everything you see is new and exciting. And at that point in their life, new and exciting meant the Golden Arches. And boy, they'd see the McDonald's and they'd go, look at the McDonald's. And they'd see a little amusement park and they'd say, look at the Ferris wheel. And what I understood as we started driving around, pretty soon, the youngest started to cry. And I realized what was going on. My 2 oldest sons saw this whole big, beautiful world out of the window. Every time they looked out the window, they saw something new that he couldn't see. The 3-year-old wasn't tall enough to see out the window. And so I put a booster seat in, and guess what? The crying stopped. It would have been real easy for me to jump to a conclusion about what's going on. But I said, you know what? I'm going to see the world from their perspective. And so when we talk about public service, I think we all need to realize that there's always going to be the NGOs, the government, private business. And you know what? There's always going to be good and bad in the NGO, good and bad in the private sector, good and bad in the public sector. But we need to realize that we're all searching for the same goal. Let's get in the room and let's try to see things from each other's perspective. We might not always agree. We might not always come to a good conclusion, but you know what? We owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our communities, we owe it to our environment to get into that room and have the discussion. And so when you think about that, how does waste management do that? How do we do a better job of getting that perspective? Well, I couldn't be in a better place to talk about it than right here. The way we try to help gain that perspective is to partner with our communities, to partner with our regulators, to partner with other businesses. I talked about upstream. Here in Little Rock, when the city of Little Rock came to us and they said, you know, we need some help with recycling. You all do this. This is your job. Tell us about what we can do. We said, well, here's a few things we need to do. We need to educate people about it. Because you know what? I'll go back to my little kids. My little kids know more about recycling than I will ever know. And they are learning at a very young age. So we got to educate people about how to recycle. And then, once again, we got to make it easier for them to recycle. So we partnered with the city of Little Rock and we educated people. 5,000 more customers signed up to recycling, and recycling went up by 12%. That's the kind of community partnership that we can do to make sure that we're working together to achieve the same goal. You know, right up the road, we have our Tupine landfill. And our Tupine landfill, we're going to work with the Audubon Society to do some wetlands mitigation, and then we're going to work with the state to put in a landfill. We've already worked with the state to put in a landfill gas to energy plant. And so now you've got all 3 groups represented. Private sector, public sector, NGOs, all working together to take that landfill and make it not only a safe space to dispose of waste, but an energy plant, a wetlands refuge, and also an area that's going to drive economic development in the state of Arkansas. How could anyone not get that kind of perspective and not see that as a win-win? You know, I always say that when I came to Waste Management, this was a company that managed our business with the Wizard of Oz form of management. And students might not remember the Wizard. You've gotten the Wizard of Oz, don't you? Everyone saw the Wizard of Oz. But my generation, we grew up with the Wizard of Oz. And what I mean by the Wizard of Oz style of management is, remember at the very end when the wizard is back there and he's talking and the curtain starts to open and he says, don't look behind that curtain. And that's the way we've managed our business. We've said, look, we're an environmental company, but don't look behind that curtain. And what I've said is, you know what? If you're going to tell people not to look behind the curtain, what are they going to think? What are they going to think you're doing behind that curtain? So you know what? Let's pull that curtain back. Let's say to people, come on out, see what we're doing. Come on out and see the way we're treating the environment. Visit us. Go there. Go to our landfills. Go to our recycling plants. When you do, you're going to learn a lot about waste management and our 15,000 environmentalists. I hope that when you do that, you'll also learn about how we serve your community's needs. And that's what I call public service. Thank you. I'd love to take some questions from you, but if you have a question for Skip too, we'll put him on the spot too.
I'm actually from Monterey to take over for Skip Willow. My name is Patrick Kennedy. I'm Director of Public Programs. Thank you, Mr. Steiner, for your remarks. We're going to pass around some mics, and please raise your hand to ask a question. I will take the prerogative and ask the first question.
Sure.
I'm only 24, so I don't know a lot about leadership, but when I think of leadership,
Yeah.
What are some of are there any instances, or have there been any instances in your in waste management history that you consider a failure or kind of a hindrance? What have you learned from leadership in those moments?
You know, that's a great question, and I'll just tell you a very brief story of when I ran the legal department of waste management. And I ran the legal department, and there was a lawyer in the legal department. When I took over, we had just been through a merger, right? When I took over as general counsel. And we had been through a merger, and there were sort of people from the old company and people from the other company, and there was a lot of tension between the various factions. And so this was a lawyer that was a remnant of one of those factions, and very defensive about anyone saying anything about that. It was just a bad situation. And this lawyer was a troubled lawyer, and the general counsel before me said, you know, I don't know if she's going to make it, but because she's just sort of disruptive, she's got a big chip on her shoulder. And I said, well, I'll work with her for 6-7 months, and we'll see what we can do. Well, she had a big chip on her shoulder. And one day she walked into my office, and she said, I've made a horrible mistake. She said, I've committed a bad mistake in one of our public filings. I don't know what to do. I know you're going to fire me, but I don't know what to do. And I said, well, let's talk about it. Let's see what the mistake is, because if we can fix the mistake, it wasn't a mistake. And so we sat down, and we went through all the various regulations, and we understood how to solve the problem, came up to a fairly easy solution, and we fixed the problem. And she said, why didn't you yell at me? I said, well, 2 things. One, if you fix the problem, it's not a problem. But second, the worst thing you can do is to be afraid to come in and talk to me, because then that little problem can become a big problem. And that's the only sin you can commit. If you make a mistake, come in and tell me about it, we'll find a way to solve it. The only sin you can commit is when you commit a mistake, you don't tell me about it, and then it becomes a bigger mistake. And she said, so you're not going to fire me? I said, no, everyone's going to make mistakes. And today she's one of our best lawyers. She understood from that action that, you know, that you can fail. And it's interesting, you know, to equate it to our business, we have failures all the time. We run 300 landfills, we run 25,000 trucks, we have 25 million customers. To expect perfection of us every day, I would like to think that we're perfect, but we're not. We're going to have problems everywhere. Leadership is not having no problems. Leadership is not making no mistakes. Leadership is not being perfect. Leadership is how you respond to those mistakes, how you correct those mistakes, how people like Roger deals with his communities to say, you know what, we're going to step up and take responsibility for that mistake, and we're going to fix it. That's leadership. And you know, the lesson I've learned is the people that try to tell you everything is perfect and always try to say everything is fine, watch out for them, because they're the ones that aren't true leaders. They're ones that are trying to be perfect, and there's no such thing.
I actually have 2 questions. About Curtin, we're a state regulatory agency.
Mm-hmm.
That's all we need to say. But several years ago, you had I remember it as a program called Zero Tolerance.
Right.
I'd like to talk a little bit about that, how you meet those state regs. And then the second is about safety.
Yep.
How important that is.
Yeah, and you know, those are 2 great questions. And you know, again, we're going to have times when we have failures. You know, we have a lot of times when there's a lot of rain, so we have a lot of leachate in landfills, and we've got to manage through those problems. But the point is that when we talk about zero tolerance, what we're saying is that we want to go beyond what the regulations are. Now, why do we do that? Look, I run a company. I run a business. And if you're not a leader of a business today that doesn't understand that you've got to meet the community's needs, you're not going to succeed. I mean, you see it everywhere. You know, everyone always talks about NIMBY, not in my backyard. The new one's banana. You know, built absolutely nothing anywhere near anyone. If you can't live with your communities, then how are you ever going to expect your communities to allow you to do business in those communities? And who are your bosses, those communities? And so we not only have to meet state regulations, we've got to meet the expectations of those communities. And that's a lot more than what we're required to do by law. So, you know, I will tell you that there was a time in this company, back when they were going through a lot of different mergers in the early 90s, where environmental compliance wasn't their first and foremost focus. I will tell you, since I've been in this company for the last 6 years, starting out as Deputy General Counsel, it has been the only focus. And what we realized is that if we're going to be a community partner, we've got to walk that walk. And if we're going to be a partner with the regulators, we've got to walk that walk. And so, it's giving someone like Roger Lawrence. I was telling Roger earlier today, I remember when I became CFO and someone came to me and said, we're going to have to spend $20 million to go through, we had about 30 landfills in the country where we're going to have to change out the gas systems because they're meeting regulatory requirements, but they're creating odors. And so we need to spend $20 million to alleviate that, even though they're meeting the regulatory requirements. And it's a hard decision to make. That's a lot of money for our shareholders to spend. But when you're trying to make sure that you're a good community partner, you better spend that money. That's a great long-term investment. And so when we talk about zero tolerance, it's letting someone like Roger know that if he comes to me and says, I need $1 million to do X, then I'm not going to scream at him and say, what do you mean $1 million? I'm going to say, if it's good for the community, if it's good for the regulator, go spend it. And so it's giving people the freedom. That's basically what it comes down to. People are good people generally. They want to do the right thing. But sometimes the leadership says, we're not going to give you the money to do the right thing. We're not going to give you the resources to do the right thing. And so if there's one thing I can do as a leader of the company, it's to make sure that they're getting the resources and to make sure that they know that when they come and they ask a question, whether it's me or anyone down the chain from me that says, we need to spend money to be better community partners, they know where to spend it. And so it's setting that example. It goes back to what I talked about with leadership. If you give people the right to do it, they will do it. And the same thing goes for safety. I was talking earlier about a story. Safety is probably the thing that we're most proud of at Waste Management in the last 6 years. We went from a company, there's a TRIR, a measure that OSHA uses. And world class is 2, the industrial average is about 6. At the time that I came in, we were about 30. That means 30 per 100,000 that we're sending home injured every night. So we put in a safety program. We driven that TRIR down below 5. We're finally below the industrial average and heading toward world class. And so what do I have to do with the safety program? Well, I always tell a story that has the added benefit of being true. Of when I was in New York City, I was telling it to our employees over here just earlier, that when I was in New York City one time with a Wall Street analyst, and we'd go to meeting from meeting to meeting to meeting, we're in a car going 10 blocks here, 10 blocks there. And every time we got in the car, she would get in the car and she wouldn't put on her safety belt. And I said, put on your safety belt. And after about the 3rd time, she said, look, I'm from New York. I don't like people telling me what to do. If I want to die in an auto accident without my safety belt on, that's my prerogative. Quit telling me to put on my safety belt. And I said, let me tell you something. Safety is the most important thing we do at Waste Management. If we get into a car accident, and there's a story printed, if you were killed while riding in a car with me without your seatbelt on, I've just destroyed all the work we've done in the last 5 years of the safety program. Because if they don't see me wearing my safety belt, if they don't see the people with me wearing my safety belt, they're not going to wear their safety belt. So when you're with me, you'll either walk or you'll wear your safety belt. And it goes back again to that definition of leadership. I need to realize that everything, if I pull in, we're going to go visit our employees again this afternoon. If I pull in Roger's truck without my safety belt on, guess what they're going to do? He doesn't have to wear his. Why do I have to wear mine? First thing I did when I came up to this table is I said safety vest. I love, look at it. They're in their safety vest. That's setting an example. And when I asked them about it, they said, you know what? If I don't wear mine, my people won't wear theirs. That's leadership right there.
And we heard a lot of talk, and I looked at our records and I worked with some of the planning on it. We've had some low pathogen outbreaks.
Right.
We haven't had any high, I know of, we haven't had any pandemic.
Yeah.
But where they've had those on the East Coast, a lot of the, after the waste process and neutralized, a lot of them were banned.
Right.
So I was wondering if y'all were involved in that.
Yeah, we're actually, second question first, we work with the EPA.
Could you repeat that question?
Pardon me?
Could you repeat it?
Oh, I'm sorry. We're talking about 2 things. One is biomass, and can you use biomass to take things out of the landfill and create energy? And then the second is the bird flu pandemic. What's our involvement in that? We actually worked with the EPA. It's not just what happens to birds. We actually work with the EPA. We've got a team that's working with the EPA. And it's, you know, I got to tell you, I sat through a couple meetings where we talked about the bird flu. And, you know, we read about it in the papers and we say, yeah, they're going to make a movie out of it. It's, you know. But when you start looking at what can potentially happen, it is tremendous. The bigger problem is not what do you do after you pick it up. The biggest problem is how do you first start go about picking it up. And so we work with on-site disposal. You know, we basically, you know, to put it in sort of layman's terms, what we talked about was first you got to protect the workers. You got to have them in the various suits, and then we basically would take the birds and put them in a giant baggie, you know, and then you put it in an autoclave process. You can do various things with it to make the pathogens not active. It is a huge, if it happens, it is going to be a huge issue. We started working with the EPA about 18 months ago to say, it'd be very easy to wait till it happens and then react to it, but if you wait till it happens and then react to it, you're not going to react correctly. You're going to send people in, put them in harm's way, you're going to dispose of it the wrong way. So we've actually got some protocols that we've developed to deal with bird flu. We're still even working with the EPA to make sure. We actually did a scenario testing to make sure that we've got it covered. Because, you know, in our case, now where are you going to get the truck drivers from? If everyone disappears, where are you going to get the fuel to run the trucks? I mean, it goes way beyond what do you do after you pick the birds up. There's a big problem with how do you even get them picked up. So it is a fascinating area. It's one of those things that we spent a lot of time on. I hope we never have to use it. I hope to God that we never have to put that plan into action. The biomass is actually a great question because, you know, basically what you're talking about is most of the waste that is created in the United States has some kind of cellulose content in it. If it has a cellulose content in it, you can make energy out of it, right? And so that's when you read about ethanol, that's basically what they're doing with the corn. I think that is one of the future areas. We've got a group in our company called the Organic Growth Company. They look at those type of technologies. And so they're looking at a lot of different technologies, whether it's plasma arc technology or whether it's cellulosic ethanol. You're looking at a lot of different technologies. The key is being able to scale those technologies from our point of view. You can make an ethanol plant, and that's pretty simple. Taking the waste and creating energy, you can do it in small, you know, 50 to 100 ton a day type of plants. But then doing it on a bigger scale, you know, landfill type scale of 1,500 to 2,500 tons a day, a little bit harder to scale it up. So we're actually looking at that. We're also talking to a couple of companies that you would recognize in those industries that have the technology. Basically what it comes down to is there are companies that have the technology, but they haven't developed it yet. We have the fuel source. Why shouldn't we get together? You know, we don't have the resources to go out and catch up in technology, so why not partner with someone that has the technology so that we can work together to provide the fuel source to do just that? I will tell you that's a couple years down the road, but you know, with $60 oil and with folks like you having an interest in agricultural products and how you can use them, I think that's the future of our industry.
We have time for one more question.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Is there a time on the horizon when we no longer allow landfills that we shut them down and reclaim all the waste stream?
Yeah. You know, two things. I don't think, well, I'm going to tell you about the landfill side. It's interesting because we're a consumer society. If we created no waste, we wouldn't need landfills. I'm going to tell you the story of the first landfill I went to, because I joined the company 6 years ago, had a law degree, had an accounting degree, you know, pretty educated guy, so I figure I pretty much know a little bit about the world, and they're going to take me to my first landfill. And so I have this vision of what I saw when I was a kid, you know, all this stuff being dumped into a pit, and there's birds all over the place, and this is not going to be very fun. And so we drove up, and as we're driving around, I turned to the person who was giving me the tour. I said, "Where's the landfill?" And they said, "You're on it." I said, "Really?" They said, "Yeah, this is the landfill." And they started driving me around, and you realize that I guarantee you, if you go and visit our 293 landfills around the country, I guarantee you will not be able to tell where the land begins and the landfill ends. You won't be able to tell the difference. And so when you look at landfills, and I thought of landfills as these big places that must be horrible, the engineering that now goes into landfills, we put liners beneath them, we put clay beneath them, sometimes waste can go. It's basically entombed in these liners, right? And then on top of it, you put natural grasses and dirt every day, and then when you finish it with the landfill, you cap it. You're getting the methane gas out of it. What we need to do as a company is to make people realize that, look, let's be realistic. Does anyone want a landfill in their backyard? Of course, you don't want a landfill in your backyard. You shouldn't be afraid of it. If you do have a landfill that's close by you, you shouldn't be worried for the health of your kids. So we need to make people understand that a landfill is a very good and efficient and economical method of disposing of waste. Now, having said that, and that's why I say to you all, every one of you, if you ever want to go see what we're doing, go to a landfill, because you'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at the engineering, you'll be amazed at the safety, you'll be amazed about the environmental protection, you'll be amazed when you walk out of there. I defy anyone to walk out of there and say, gosh, we shouldn't have landfills. I mean, they'll understand that it's a good, efficient way to dispose of waste. Now, having said that, are there more, when I think about waste, quite honestly, I think about this gentleman's question. How do you get the most energy content? How do you recycling is all about making beneficial use of something. So when I think of waste, I think, how do we get the most energy out of that waste? Right now, the most efficient way to do it is to put it into a landfill and use methane gas to create electricity. But if we can develop some cellulose and ethanol technology, we'll be able to pull the energy out of there. So how do we make the best use of that 4.5 pounds of trash that we make every day? And it's not just the best use, it's the most economical use, and it's what we have technology to be able to do. Today, that happens to be landfill and waste-to-energy plants. Waste-to-energy plants are a wonderful way to dispose of waste because you're burning the waste to create electricity. So that's when I talk about the futurist environmentalist and today's environmentalist. Today's environmentalist, the practical reality is the most efficient, economic and environmentally safe way to dispose of our waste. When you look at all those factors together, the landfill is still the best way to do it. When you look at the futurist, we need to look at the technology that we need to develop to extract the most energy that we can out of that waste. And so that's the type of thing that we need to be involved in. I always tell our people that, if I ran Ford and GM, I sure as heck would have money invested in the technology of hydrogen cars, because the hydrogen car can put you out of business. And so we darn well better be invested in the technology that could end landfills. While it's the most economical and most environmentally safe way to get rid of waste, we'll be in the landfill business. But if the industry's going to change, we need to be the ones that are there leading. And so ultimately, I think we'll always have landfills, mainly because we're a big country, we have a lot of space. But if you go over and look at Europe, where they don't have a lot of space and they don't have a lot of land, they're doing a lot of amazing things to pull waste streams out and to use it to create energy. So I'd love to, anyone that wants to partner up as a state or a city to start talking about ways that we can partner up to do just that, I'll give you my number.
Thank you all for coming, and let's thank Mr. Steiner one more time.